Hi, and welcome to the lesson on protecting water quality, part of the Georgia Green Landscape Stewards program by the University of Georgia Extension. My name is Martin Wonderly, and I'm the water agent for the Northeast District. The following presentation is part of the University of Georgia Extension Service Georgia Green Landscapes program funded by the Center for Urban Agriculture. These guidance series will help Georgia residents create certified, sustainable Georgia landscapes, protecting our natural resources for future generations. Protecting water quality in the landscape requires that we think about our irrigation water quality, as well as our landscaping practices. In section 2, we'll discuss chemical applications, property management, and lawn and garden practices that can protect our local water quality. First, we'll start with irrigating with clean water. Water quality varies by source. Test your water as a baseline and always test your soil to know what kind of nutrients already exist. Poor water quality can lead to slow plant growth, poor aesthetics, or environmental damage. Sometimes our water sources can be contaminated by land use activity in the upper watershed. Naturally occurring salts and minerals can also affect irrigation water quality. Municipal water supplies are frequently tested, but we should also check our private well water supplies for its quality. The University of Georgia Agriculture and Environmental Services Lab will test your water with the help of your local county extension office. W33A is the test number for irrigation water chemistry. It covers many elements of concern, those that are included in the basic test, and if you feel you need to do some additional testing based on your surroundings and prior land activity in your area, you can test for other elements. If some elements of your water are imbalanced, filter treatments or soil amendments may be necessary. Rainwater can help dilute some soluble salts, minerals, or alkaline elements in your well water supply. Harvested rainwater can be contaminated by fecal coliform and E. coli from animal waste. Divert the first flush of rooftop rainwater or treat it with bleach, about an ounce of household bleach to 55 gallons of water once per month, or more if rain is more frequent, and avoid watering vegetables with this water. UGA Extension publications about water quality include these 3 listed here with a link that you can copy from our Georgia Green Landscape Stewards website. If you open the education component and look for Protecting Water Quality PDF, you can open that up and follow this link. Landscaping practices for water quality. The chemical applications, property management, and lawn and garden practices. First, we'll discuss chemical applications. When applying fertilizer, follow these guidelines to maintain a healthy, sustainable landscape. First, test your soil. Find out what nutrients you already have or lack before designing a fertilizer plan. Walk around your yard at least weekly and observe your plants and lawn for early signs of problems. Fertilize only as needed to maintain the health of lawns and landscape plants. If plants show signs of stress, such as yellow leaves or stunted growth, identify the problem before applying fertilizer. For turf grass, do not exceed the rate of 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per application, and follow your local municipal regulations. Use slow-release fertilizers. Buy fertilizers that contain 50% or more of the nitrogen in a slow-release form. Never fertilize during dry periods. It can dehydrate your roots of your plants and will remain unavailable to your plants. just washing away in the next rainfall. Most established healthy trees and shrubs only need fertilizers once every 2 to 3 years. Most established herbaceous perennials perform well when fertilized every other year. If you do a good job of building up organic matter in the soil, plants can extract essential mineral elements they need from the soil and will not require annual fertilization. Now, annual flowers and roses are exceptions to that. Properly store unused fertilizers and properly dispose of empty containers. Do not apply fertilizer before windy or heavy rain days. Provide about a ½ inch of water to water the fertilizer into the soil. Do not overwater, it carries away or leaches out fertilizers. Use a soaker hose. Fertilize ornamental plants in spring when growth begins. The rest of the year, the fertilizer will just end up in the water supply. Fall fertilization is recommended for cool season grasses. Fill fertilizer spreaders on a hard surface so that any spills can be cleaned up. Avoid applying fertilizer and pesticides close to waterways. Phosphorus is limiting in fresh water, but nitrogen is limiting in salt water. So our nitrogen can travel downstream all the way to the Atlantic Ocean and Gulf of Mexico, causing harmful algae blooms. Pesticide labels look like this one shown here. It's the law to follow the directions and methods described on the label of pesticide. This list is just shows you what information you would expect to find on a pesticide label. New classes of pesticides are less persistent than DDT and other organochlorines, but are generally more water soluble and are often more acutely toxic. Potentially, this can contaminate surface and groundwater. Do not dispose of unused product down the drain, sink, or toilet. Do not store pesticides in areas where flooding is possible or near your drinking well. Do not mix or apply a pesticide near a wellhead. Dispose of unused or unwanted pesticides properly. Apply the correct dosage at the right time of year. Apply only to crops or targets identified on the label. Keep detailed records of all pesticide use and the environmental conditions at the time of application. Post all treated areas and follow re-entry directions. Avoid application near water in the riparian buffer. Choose your riparian plants to be pest tolerant. Properly store fertilizer in tightly closed, labeled, and securely stored original containers. Use integrated pest management, a way of thinking about pest management that values using the knowledge about pest habits, life cycles, needs, and dislikes. Using least toxic methods first, up to and including pesticides. Monitoring the pest activity and adjusting methods over time. Tolerating harmless pests and setting a threshold to decide when it's time to act. You can find an integrated pest management guidance at the website provided at the bottom of this page. Some activities that you can take on your property as far as protecting local water quality. Pick up after your pets. Properly dispose of waste in the trash. Dog waste is full of bacteria and extra nutrients that we don't need in our local waters. Create an at-home chemical spill kit. Empty household chemical containers should be properly disposed of and not put out at the curb. Your spill kit will probably can just consist of some absorbent sand materials like cat litter, absorbent pads, gloves, you may need goggles in there, and a broom and dustpan to sweep up any spilled chemicals on your pavement surfaces. Change your car oil on an absorbent mat or paper to catch spills and dispose of the oil properly. Maintain your lawnmowers and other power equipment to prevent leaks. Sweep your grass clippings, fertilizer, and soil from driveways and streets back onto the lawn so it doesn't wash down the street into your local stream. Use yard waste, grass clippings, and leaves in mulch or compost for your garden. Or you can prepare the clippings and leaves for community composting or paper bags for disposal to keep them from washing into streams with stormwater. Direct your rooftop downspouts to a lawn area for water infiltration instead of sidewalk runoff. Install a green roof on low sloping portions of your home or business to slow rain runoff, which is probably not something that everybody's going to be able to install, but it's an interesting concept, so I thought I would add that in here. Install rain barrels or large cisterns to collect irrigation water and reduce runoff. Use mulch, permeable pavers, stone, gravel, or other porous surfaces for walkways, patios, and driveways. Reduce and remove impervious surfaces to slow, spread, and sink stormwater before it carries nutrients and contaminants into local waters. This is a diagram of a landscape that changes from natural ground cover to a developed cityscape with more impervious surfaces, and you can see what happens to our water resources under these conditions. In natural ground cover, we get 25% deep infiltration, 25% shallow infiltration into the soil, only 10% runoff, and 40% of the moisture it leaves back into the atmosphere through evapotranspiration. Well, as you start to add buildings, houses, roads, and sidewalks and impervious surfaces, you lose your infiltration and you increase your runoff. Whereas in a city environment, you might only find 10% shallow infiltration, 5% deep infiltration, and now you're up to 55% stormwater runoff and only 30% evapotranspiration. So you can see the effect that impervious surfaces have on how rainwater, stormwater travel on our landscape. And this section will discuss lawn and garden practices that you can undertake for creating a sustainable landscape and protecting our local water quality. I will mention integrated pest management again. This is a little bit more detail. This is a diagram from Penn State University. This shows the pyramid of IPM tactics for crops, lawn, and garden. And you start out at the bottom with cultural activities like deciding where to site your plants and which plants, and rotations and sanitation. Then you can move to some physical or mechanical methods of pest management with insect traps or barriers, weed, mulch, tilling, and pruning. And then we move up to biological control with predators and parasites. Chemical control is next with less risky chemicals such as soaps, oils, baking soda, repellents, and then we get to the top if you really must use them, pesticides that kill on contact. Is this Roundup Ready, Roundup sprays, insect killer. You can see the arrows on the left show you that prevention is what you're doing at the bottom of the pyramid, and intervention is what you're doing at the top. And your risk to damaging local water quality in the environment increases as you go up this pyramid. This is a landscape plan that will shows you how to do, how you might decide how to put the right plants in the right place, which reduces the need for extra irrigation and fertilizer or pesticide use altogether. If your plants are happy with the amount of water and shade, they're less susceptible to attack or damage from insects or other weeds. Follow these planting suggestions that you get with your native plants that you're installing. Test your soil for nutrient deficiencies and for percent composition of silt, sand, and clay. Georgia Piedmont soils generally have a moderate infiltration rate of 0.2 inches per hour for sandy clay loam, and they hold water better than sandier soils. Don't overwater or oversaturate soils. It leaches nutrients into the water table away from your plants and creates excess runoff during irrigation or rainfall events. For shrubs and beds, use drip irrigation, soaker hoses, spray gun, or handheld container to control runoff. If you overwater and you oversaturate your soil, it's already full of water, so the next time you irrigate or it rains, the water has nowhere to go but off of the top of the surface downhill. Aerate lawns at least once a year. This improves percolation and movement of nutrients into the soil, decreases runoff, and encourages roots to grow deeper and become more drought tolerant. Incorporate drought tolerant, biome appropriate, or native plants to avoid extra irrigation and potential runoff. We've provided a link here to a UGA publication that you can search the term native plants and you'll come up with quite a few documents on different types of native plants in Georgia that you can use that are biome appropriate and require less irrigation. Just remember that not all native plants are drought tolerant. We do have native wetland plants that like to be wet all the time. They can't survive a drought. Use trees and shrubs to intercept and slow rainwater. Weeds compete with plants for moisture and nutrients, so keep weeds at bay by using mulch. This reduces the need for fertilizer and herbicide. Landscape fabrics can serve as an added barrier to weeds and reduce soil erosion into waterways. Leave grass clippings to work their way back into the grass onto the ground. They act like mulch, helping to reduce moisture loss. It also recycles up to 30% of the nitrogen applied to the lawn, reducing your fertilizer needs. If you mow often enough so the clippings remain small, they can fall down between your grass blades more easily. During spring planting, leave a cover crop between vegetable garden rows to prevent soil erosion off your property. Minimize tilling and bare soil exposure by adding mulched material and seeding or transplanting into last year's residue. Add a 4-inch layer of organic matter to increase the infiltration and effectiveness of water. Good mulch, compost, and loam topsoil can store water, whereas water will run off of dense clay soils. This allows the root system to spread out and stabilize soil. Avoid soil compaction. It prevents rainwater infiltration. Create a rain garden in wet, low, or downspout locations to catch, hold, and filter stormwater. This captures the first flush from lawns and paved areas to help trap sediment and contaminants. Rain gardens allow stormwater to infiltrate into the ground. Adopt landscaping and building techniques with plants, soils, and materials that mimic natural hydrologic processes to manage stormwater. This is a type of technique known as green infrastructure. Incorporate grassed swales, filter strips, or buffer strips to control and temporarily store stormwater runoff. In sloped areas, create small bedded terraces along contour lines, not perpendicular to them. This slows the spread of stormwater runoff, reducing erosion. Contour terraces allow water to infiltrate soils, replenishing the surface aquifer and increasing soil moisture. Vegetated swales, in harmony with topography, divert stormwater, preventing soil erosion or flooding on your landscape. Just remember, when it comes to stormwater, we want to slow it down, spread it out, and sink it into the ground. Ground cover plants prevent erosion of your soils. Back away from streams and rivers, allowing a riparian buffer of vegetation to stabilize the bank and prevent erosion during high flow. This protects downstream water quality from contaminated surface runoff and sedimentation. Choose pest-resistant plants for riparian buffers to reduce the need for pesticides along the waterway. Riparian buffers of 35 to 100 plus feet are recommended to reduce dissolved pollutants in eroded soils from entering waterways. The width needed depends on pollutant load, field slope, type and density of vegetation, soil structure, subsurface drainage patterns, and the frequency and force of storm events. Riparian buffers are the last line of defense for protecting our water. Here is our list of checklist items for our Green Landscape Steward certification for your property. These different actions will help you provide a sustainable landscape, protecting our water quality and natural resources. And you receive a different amount of points for different activities. If you go to the Georgia Green Landscapes website, you can download the certification form, and it will automatically add up your points for you as you click on the different action squares. If you have questions about any plants or soil conditions or water quality in your area, contact your local UGA Extension, County Agriculture, Natural Resource Agent. They'll have the best information for your part of the state of Georgia. If you have questions about the Georgia Green Landscape Stewards Program, please email us at georgiagreen@uga.edu. And here's the link to the website where you find this presentation, recorded video, and a PDF document. And you can also begin your certification process. Thanks for joining us today on the Protecting Water Quality topic for the Georgia Green Landscape Stewards Program.